Before you hear this story, ask yourself one question. What would you do if the people you sacrificed everything for erased you like you never existed? If stories about justice, family betrayal, and shocking comebacks move you, don't forget to red heart like this video and bell subscribe, because this one will stay with you long after it ends. The boardroom fell silent the moment the vote was announced. Margaret Hale, founder, mother, visionary, sat at the head of the table she had paid for, in the building she had built, surrounded by the children she had raised, and just like that, she was no longer CEO. Her own sons avoided her eyes. Her daughter stared at her phone. A stranger in a tailored suit slid a document across the table as if she were already a ghost. "Effective immediately," he said gently, like a doctor delivering a terminal diagnosis. Margaret's hands trembled, not from weakness but from disbelief. 40 years earlier, she had started Hale Industries in a rented garage while pregnant, assembling products at night and rocking a crying baby with her foot. She had missed birthdays, weddings, even her husband's final hours in the hospital to keep the company alive. And now her children, beneficiaries of every sacrifice, had decided she was outdated, too emotional, bad for growth. Outside, rain hammered the glass walls. No one offered to walk her out. In the lobby, employees she had hired looked away awkwardly. A security guard she didn't recognize held the door open as if she were a visitor. Margaret stepped into the storm without an umbrella. Each drop felt like a memory dissolving, first product launch, first million earned, first time her children called her a hero. By the time she reached the sidewalk, she realized she had nowhere to go. The penthouse apartment was company-owned. Her accounts were tied up in legal structures her children now controlled. For the first time in decades, Margaret Hale was homeless. A car pulled up beside her, old and modest, its windshield wipers squeaking loudly. The driver's door opened, and a young woman rushed out, holding an umbrella. "Aunt Margaret?" she asked softly. Margaret blinked through the rain. It took a moment to recognize her. Lena. Her late sister's daughter. Quiet, withdrawn, always in the background at family gatherings, so invisible that Margaret's own children often forgot she was there. "I saw the news," Lena said, her voice steady but her eyes burning. "Come with me." Margaret hesitated. Pride had built her empire, but exhaustion had finally broken it. She nodded. Lena's apartment was small, warm, and cluttered with books, computer equipment, and half-finished projects. It smelled like coffee and cinnamon. Margaret sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, staring at her hands as if they belonged to someone else. "They said I was finished," she whispered. Lena knelt in front of her. "You're not finished. They just forgot who you are." Margaret gave a hollow laugh. "My own children forgot." What Margaret didn't know was that Lena had been watching Hale Industries for years, not as an employee, not as an investor, but as something far more dangerous, an observer with nothing to lose. Growing up overlooked had taught Lena how to disappear, and disappearing had taught her how to see everything. She had watched the company drift from its values, watched executives inflate numbers, watched decisions that would one day implode. And she had been preparing. Over the next few weeks, Margaret recovered slowly. She cooked again. Slept without pills for the first time in years. Laughed once or twice, surprised by the sound of it. Meanwhile, Lena worked late into the night, screens glowing in the darkness. Financial models. Acquisition plans. Legal filings. Silent moves that left no headlines. Then the scandal broke. Hale Industries stock plunged overnight after regulators uncovered accounting irregularities approved by the very children who had pushed Margaret out. Investors panicked. Partners withdrew. News anchors speculated that the once great company might collapse within months. Margaret watched the coverage in stunned silence. "This isn't what I built," she murmured. Lena handed her a cup of tea. "No," she said calmly. "It isn't." Behind the scenes, an unknown private firm began buying massive amounts of Hale stock at rock-bottom prices. Analysts couldn't identify the owner. The purchases were too coordinated, too precise. Within days, the mystery investor became the largest single shareholder. An emergency board meeting was called. Margaret's children walked into that same boardroom, pale and exhausted, expecting bankers or hostile investors. Instead, the doors opened, and Lena walked in. She wore a simple navy suit. No flashy jewelry. No entourage. Just quiet confidence. For a moment, no one recognized her. Then Margaret's eldest son squinted. "Lena? What are you doing here?" Lena placed a folder on the table. "Saving the company." Laughter rippled around the room, thin, nervous laughter that died quickly when their legal counsel cleared his throat. "She now holds a controlling interest," he said carefully. "She has the authority to restructure leadership." The color drained from every face. Margaret's daughter leaned forward. You don't even work here." "I didn't need to," Lena replied softly. "I was paying attention." She outlined the recovery plan with surgical precision, divesting failing divisions, restoring ethical practices, rebuilding trust. Every step was something Margaret herself would have done years earlier. Finally, Lena closed the folder. "First order of business," she said. "Effective immediately, the current executive team is relieved of duty." Silence. Then outrage. Accusations. "Please." But Lena didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Margaret sat in the corner, stunned, tears slipping down her cheeks, not of sadness, but of something deeper. Recognition. Vindication. Hope. Lena turned to her. "There's one more appointment to make." She walked across the room and stopped beside Margaret's chair. For the first time since the takeover, her composure cracked, revealing raw emotion beneath. "You built this," Lena said. "No one else." Margaret shook her head weakly. "I'm too old." "They said." "I don't care what they said," Lena interrupted, her voice trembling. "You taught me that integrity outlasts everything. You were the only one who treated me like I mattered when I was a kid. You didn't even remember it, but I did." She extended her hand. "Margaret Hale, will you return as CEO?" The room held its breath. Margaret looked at the faces of her children, no longer powerful, no longer certain, just small and frightened. For a moment, anger flickered in her eyes. Then it softened into something stronger than revenge. "Yes," she said quietly. "But not for them. For the people who still believe in this company." Applause erupted, not from the board, but from employees who had quietly gathered outside the glass walls, watching history rewrite itself. Months later, Hale Industries was not only stable but thriving, rebuilt on transparency and purpose. Margaret worked fewer hours but made every decision count. Lena remained behind the scenes, refusing titles, refusing praise. One evening, they stood together on the rooftop overlooking the city. "I never thanked you," Margaret said. Lena smiled faintly. "You did. Years ago. When you told a shy little girl she was stronger than she thought." Margaret slipped an arm around her shoulders. "You didn't just save the company," she said. "You saved me." Below them, light stretched endlessly, proof that even after devastation, something beautiful could rise again. So if this story touched your heart, remember this: the people who overlook you today may be standing in your shadow tomorrow. Stay kind. Stay patient. Stay strong. Red Heart. And if you believe in stories where quiet strength wins in the end, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because sometimes the invisible ones are the ones who change everything. Bell.